Hey.
Are we on? Hi.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
Oh, boy. And then I have this bad habit of just talking for 18
Literally ever.
for 18 hours before we start recording, and then by the time we start recording, we're like, well, what else is there to say?
We were supposed to meet at 6.
Yeah,
It's, what, 11:30?
11:30.
Happy episode 14.
Just be lucky that you didn't have to hear everything before now.
It was all really interesting.
Really interesting.
Some good, some bad, but all interesting.
But mostly bad, but also interesting. So we're here for episode 14.
Yes, we are.
Oh,
Yeah?
I have a fun thing I found on the internet.
Okay.
Jokes told by death row inmates right before execution.
Oh, it's like you found exactly what I've ever wanted. Tell me, I want to know them all.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. George Appel, Appel, his quote was, "Well, gentlemen, you are about to see a baked apple," before he was electrocuted.
That's like the French fries guy.
Yes, I think he's actually on here. This guy named Carl Panzram, his
Oh, he's a brooding kind of man.
he's kind of handsome,
He is. In this day and age, though, he would need a beard to be considered handsome.
and he needs to get rid of that curly.
He needs something for the middle part of his head because that hair is gone.
Wow. Oh, he was a serial killer, rapist, and burglar.
Great.
Sorry, I take it all back.
The trifecta.
He committed more than 1,000 rapes. And I just called him handsome.
Oh, we
jump.
both did, and I'm gay.
I want to jump off a bridge.
That sucks that worked out for him.
I hate myself. He was executed by hanging in Kansas on September 5th, 1930. His final quote was, "Yes, hurry it up, you hoot." I'm sorry.
You hoot?
No.
Hooligan?
"Yes, hurry it up, you Hoosier bastard. I could kill a dozen men while you're screwing around."
Oh.
He
Wow.
doesn't look like the type. He looks so brooding, like you said.
He definitely has the intimidation factor.
Oh, I clicked
Oh,
on
there's
it.
James French.
James French. Oh, he is creepy looking.
French fries.
Look at him. Okay, he goes, "How's this for a headline? French fries."
Yep.
Bam.
And then he got electrocuted, right?
Bam, he was fried. Okay. Oh, he was... Oh, my God. He was sentenced to life in prison for murder. Then he was upgraded, quote-unquote, to the electric chair after killing his cellmate.
Oh, neat.
That's nice.
It's like life in jail wasn't enough.
Does he not look crazed?
No, he looks crazy.
So crazy.
He looks like he's one of those people who doesn't blink.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. John Eldon Smith. Mm-hmm. He said, "Well, the Lord is going to get another one."
The Lord or the opposite of the Lord?
Satan.
The anti-Lord.
Lucifer. Okay. Okay, let's all do the sign of the cross. Stay out of my apartment. Okay, Jimmy Glass said, "Yeah, I think I'd rather be fishing."
I think we all would if we were in your situation.
Yeah, you should have thought about that before you executed a couple during a burglary.
Aw. What would you say if you had last words?
You know, like you said at one point during one of these episodes, if you had like 10 years, you could come up with something good.
Right.
I feel like on the spot,
That's true.
it's a lot of pressure, but I feel like I'd probably say something. It would definitely be a pun. Mm-hmm. French fries is already taken.
Right. I don't know. I guess it does matter. If you have 10 years to think about it.
Listen, give me a week. Next episode, I'll have my last words for you.
All right.
What are yours, or do you want to wait too?
Sorry, Mom.
Oh.
I guess.
Oh, that's sad.
I mean, it's sad, but I'm also dying. It's not like any part of it's happy. I don't know.
Oh,
I wouldn't. If we needed something creative, it would take me a while. But I think my first thought would just be like, I'm sorry.
I feel like I would spend my final years just coming up with something creative to be like, at least I'll go out with like a funny joke.
Yeah.
Here, let's see. We got Gary Burris. His final words were, "Beam me up," which was the Star Trek quote, like, "Beam me up, Scotty."
I feel like if my executioner's name was Scott, I would say, "Beam me up, Scotty." You know?
Then that would have to be like a quick, like,
Yeah,
what's
I'd have
your
to
name?
know him. But also, aren't they hooded? So you don't know who they are?
I don't think anymore.
This is fucked up.
I think in the Middle Ages, maybe. Okay. Vincent Gutierrez, who also looks crazed as fuck.
That guy is for sure a killer.
Holy...
If I saw him on the street, I would cross the street.
That photo is going to haunt my nightmares. He doesn't have... His pupils are so dilated. Oh my god. He said, "Where's my stunt double when you need one?"
Ah, well, that's creative.
That's creative.
But he's also crazy.
Patrick Brian Knight said, oh boy. Patrick's a little dramatic. He said, "Death has set me free.
Oh, Lord.
That's the biggest joke. I deserve this. And the other joke is that I'm not Patrick Brian Knight. And y'all can't stop this execution now." What?
Where do we laugh?
What is he talking about? Jeffrey David Matthews, with a mullet, says, "I think that the governor's phone is broke. He hadn't called yet." I don't...
Oh, well, usually your last chance, if you're on death row, is until you are, like, time to be executed, you still have a chance of the governor pardoning you.
Oh, I think that the governor's phone is broke. He hadn't called me yet. Oh, dear.
Yeah. Like, you still have... That's your last chance if the governor calls. And there's only been, like, a few people, but a lot of people wait on that hope that maybe he'll call and pardon
I feel like
me.
if I was governor, I would just pardon everyone because I don't want to be responsible for not saving people's lives.
Unless you're a horrible fucking person. You know what's really sad? I just saw some... I don't know if it was a new article or... It was on Twitter somewhere. But a guy in Arkansas, he was something like... He was probably innocent, and all it would have taken was like an $80 DNA test to prove that he wasn't.
Makes me so mad.
And they executed him anyway. Even though there's a million fucking crooks out there who are still out, despite the fact that DNA like points them into jail, and they're still out there. But then this guy was on death row for like 10 years, like 20 years, like something ridiculous. Or 24 years. And the whole time he was like, "I'm innocent, please give me a DNA test. I'm innocent, please give me a DNA test." And they wouldn't give him one, and they fucking killed him.
I hope in his next life he's a fucking prince who gets
I hope he's the
dollars.
warden of that jail and fucking kills every single person that didn't listen to him.
Let's talk about...
It's so frustrating.
Yeah. Let's change the prison system.
Oh, right.
Remember last time we were going to create our own Bible?
We have a lot of goals. The only one we can scratch off is a podcast.
All right, it's a start.
Next up, our own Bible. And then we'll take over the prison system.
Yes, we will. We won't execute people, but we will have them give us their final words.
Yeah,
For
or
fun.
we'll at least buy them an $80 fucking DNA test.
Okay. All right. That's a good idea.
Okay, I have facts.
Yes, please do.
Milkshakes were a popular food for the extras dressed in ape costumes during the filming of the Planet of the Apes movie. Because their masks didn't allow them to eat a regular meal, so they could just put a straw in the mouth of the mask, and that's how they ate during filming. Which sucks, though, because if you're on, like, not to be that person in the industry talking politics or technicalities,
but
if you're on like a giant union show and you have a union craft services bringing like delicious food and you just get fucking mediocre milkshakes all day, I would be pissed.
Oh yeah.
Okay, the wine fact is the scent of a young wine is referred to as an aroma, whereas the scent of an old wine is called a bouquet.
Oh my.
Or bouquet, depending on who the fuck you talk to.
I'm going to tell you a secret.
What?
You've told this fact before.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, because you said you went on a date and someone said bouquet.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you need a fucking refresher. All right?
I remember because I was in the hospital editing it, and I kept going back and hearing bouquet, 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 bouquet. And
I bet that drove you fucking crazy.
I almost asked the nurse how she pronounced it, and then I was like, let's not.
Do you want me to find another one real quick?
No, it's fine.
No, it's too late. Now I feel insecure.
Oh, man.
Okay, here's my wine fact. A normal wine bottle, the bottom part that's indented is called a punt.
Oh.
And it's actually meant so that it doesn't, so the bottle won't topple over. Because if it was flat, that sound was me putting a wine bottle on the ground. But if it was flat and didn't have that indent, then it would be more top heavy apparently. But to put a indent in the center of it almost gives it like a core or a center of gravity. Also, before the bottles were machine made, they were mouth blown. And so the punt was where the glass blower's tube was attached.
Oh, shit.
So that helped hand-blown bottles from toppling over, but it also was like a historical thing.
Can you imagine having to hand blow fucking every wine bottle?
No wonder wine was in barrels back then. They were like,
Totally.
fuck this. Anyway, there's your fun fact.
Interesting.
I feel like every time I tell you fun facts, I end it with, anyway, there's your fun fact.
And I go, interesting.
Glad I learned something today. Are you drinking for any reason? Or what are you drinking?
I'm eating your frap
I know, that's
with the spoon.
mine. I'm an only child, so what you did is not good. But you also edit the podcast, so I have to be nice to you. So you keep me in a good light.
I let it sit on the table for like 45 minutes, and then I was like, well, I'm going to have a bite.
By the way, guys, I'm eating a frap.
Em's eating a frap, and so am I.
And what are you drinking?
Today I'm drinking a box of wine.
Is it Cab?
It is Shiraz.
Okay.
Ghosts.
Yes.
Tell me about ghosts.
I have a hotel story this time.
Ooh.
I felt like the last couple ones I did before Bobby Mackey's was like items, so I'm
Right.
trying to balance it out again with places.
Okay.
So I've got a hotel for you in Flagstaff, Arizona.
I've been there
Alrighty.
on a road trip.
Ooh, well, funny because this is located on Route 66.
That is exactly why I was there.
Did you stay in the Hotel Monte Vista?
No, I probably stayed at a Motel 8, but
Very different types of people at either place.
I'm sure it was close.
So that's the place I'm talking about, the Hotel Monte V, which is something that they actually say.
I don't think so, but
No, they
okay.
do. It's a fact already written in my notes. Hotel Monte V, not only is it on the National Registry of Historic Places, but it's also been refinished to look like it did originally in 1927. So this is a shorter story. It's not as detailed, but it's still worth mentioning, and there's a specific ghost I think you'll get a kick out of.
Oh boy.
Okay, so in 1924, 3 years before it opened, they began building this hotel, and it's actually one of the only hotels in the country that's built entirely from public taxes, which the town got away with because they realized that the area didn't have a lot of tourism, and it's because they had no lodging for the tourists, and so they decided it was worth putting all of our taxes in because they'd make the money back if tourists stayed and spent their money there.
Oh, interesting.
It became a very regular area to meet up, whether you were a tourist or a local. Everyone went there because of how useful it was to the town, to a point where they came up with a catchphrase called "Meet me at the Monte V."
Oh my god.
It became the town's catchphrase, and not only was it used for tourists but locals who would go there. The first thing that really was booming in this hotel was that one of the rooms got rented out as business space, and it was housed by the local daily 3-hour radio show, and the space was rented out in what is now room 105. Fun thing about this radio show was it was the first radio show to be hosted by a woman,
Hey.
and her name was, hang on, fuck, I didn't write her first name down, but her last name was Costigan. I think it was Maria, but it starts with an M. M. Costigan. And she was the first woman in the country that was granted a broadcasting license.
Good for her.
And look at us broadcasting and shit.
Hey,
She
thanks, Maria.
started it. So the hotel opened during the Prohibition era. So not only was it known for its radio show, but the hotel's lounge also became a speakeasy rather quickly, which garnered a lot of money from tourists and locals alike because they wanted the drink, as I'm sure you have been able to sympathize with at some point.
Oh, always.
2 years later, it was found out and shut down, but reopened its bar as soon as the Prohibition ended, which I think was 2 years later.
Right.
Between 1935 and 1940, the hotel also offered slot machines and some gambling tables, which were the only casino games in town. So they have the main radio show, which was also a big feminist thing because a woman
Sure.
was running it. They have a speakeasy, so there's the only alcohol in town, and it's minimal, but they have casino games where you can't gamble anywhere else. So they really did make their money back out of those tax dollars.
So I would have hung out there, problem.
That would have been our place, not House of Pies. I don't think House of Pies realizes how much action they're getting in the podcast world.
So much action.
Someone needs to go tell them. Wow. And then sponsor us.
Oh my God, can you?
I would say nothing but nice things about House of Pies. I would have you re-edit these episodes where I said anything bad about House of Pies.
I would just keel over and die.
Okay, so basically this hotel is the House of Pies of, the 1940s.
Brilliant.
So during the 40s and the 50s, another huge tourist movement happened because that was during the time where Western movies became a really big thing in America. And they happened to be filmed out in Arizona near places like Sedona and other areas near Flagstaff. So that meant that not only was it now like a film-heavy area, like an LA of sorts, but it was also like if you're out there filming these Western movies and they needed somewhere to stay and trailers weren't a thing yet, this hotel housed the celebrities.
Oh.
So this is where all the celebrities stayed when they were acting in those films.
That's interesting.
Which meant that the cast and crew was staying for sometimes months at a time. And it housed celebrities like Jane Russell, Gary Cooper, Spencer Tracy, John Wayne, Bing Crosby. Basically a lot of people that nobody knows anymore, but we know that at one point they were famous.
Bing Crosby?
Yeah, we know Bing Crosby. We know John Wayne. I don't know a couple of the other ones, which is kind of a slap in the face after being some of the first A-listers.
Whoops.
And then Harry Truman also stayed there.
Oh.
Fun fact, in one of the rooms of the hotel, a scene from Casablanca was also filmed.
Oh, wow.
And while there in the late 1950s, John Wayne was staying while he was filming a movie. And he was also one of the first guests to report having seen a ghost.
Oh, boy.
He reported that the ghost was in his room twice during his stay, but was friendly both times.
Oh, okay,
so,
good.
Maybe he was a fan. In the 70s, the first, real ghost to show up, there was 3 men who robbed a nearby bank. And back then, you could just rob a bank and then go across the street and no one would know what you fucking did. So they went to the hotel to go to their speakeasy lounge and, celebrate that they stole all this money.
The good old days.
So, anyway, they went to the lounge to have a drink to celebrate for what they did across the street. And during their robbery, one of the guys got shot in the arm or somewhere where it didn't look like it was an immediate emergency.
Oh, nice.
Except it was one and they didn't know. So before he even finished his drink, he fell over in the lounge and died.
Okay.
Today, staff and guests feel like this dead bandit is one of the many ghosts that haunt the building, mainly the lounge. And a lot of managers that work there and have to open up early have reported hearing a man's voice say hello or good morning to them when they open the bar each day.
No.
At least he's saying hello. The one thing about this, you know how I always want you to have lighthearted murder stories?
Yes.
This is a lighthearted ghost story because nothing seems to be super vindictive. There's a lot of ghosts packed into one place.
Right.
But they all seem to get the hint that let's be nice.
But can you imagine if you were alone and something spoke to you?
Well, we'll get to that.
You know?
Yeah. So,
I'd rather see something in the distance out of the corner of my eye than have it be
right.
Hello.
Hello. Especially when you're by yourself.
Exactly.
It's can you imagine, I already don't want to fucking be awake at 4 or 5 in the morning to open this place up, and now a ghost is going to talk to me.
Thank you. That's exactly my point.
Others have told stories of feeling a ghostly presence in the lounge. Some say it's the gunman, but other people say it might be other people who got shot on the land when it was more of a Western cowboy culture. And also, it was noteworthy enough for someone else to write it, so I put it down, but could also be people who died during drunken brawls. I don't know how many people are just dying in drunken brawls.
I feel like back then people just killed each other and it was not a big deal.
Yeah, they just Michael Malloyed themselves or whatever. It's I'm drunk, I don't like your face, I'm going to kill you.
Here, eat the sardine sandwich full of glass.
Right. Well, I feel like when you were a cowboy, you know.
Right, yes. Back in
you
my
really
day.
could just shoot anyone. No one was really stopping you.
Oh, people didn't give a shit.
It's just amazing that you could just bang.
It's
and then
not a big deal.
Just ride off on your horse into the sunset. I had a past lives reading one time.
You did?
I did. And they told me I was a cowboy in 1846.
I am not surprised.
I feel like I could have been a cowboy.
I totally see that.
Yeah?
I want to do one of those so badly.
It was past life regression is the phrase.
Yeah, I want to do a past life regression.
It was from when we were driving out to LA.
Yeah.
And my mom was
With
like,
your mom?
Yeah, and she was like, let's do something fun in every place. And so, maybe I was the gunman. Because here's the thing.
Oh boy, okay.
Because we got the past life regression in Sedona, where like you do all the spiritual tours and the vortex tours and all that stuff.
Oh my.
And they were like, you used to live out here in 1846 and you were a cowboy.
Did they say that to everybody?
No. My mom got her past life regression done and it did not say she was a cowboy.
What did they say about Linda?
I don't remember. I don't know. But I imagine she was like a badass, like a mayor. Like something,
a cop or a mayor. I can see her like a sheriff or a mayor or
like something that involves a lot of leadership and like being like
kicking ass.
Like a bad bitch when she needed to be.
Yeah. My mom.
I also see her being like a total criminal in a past life. Like just something savvy and like if she could get away with it, she might.
She was the bank robber and you were like the cowboy.
Aww. Maybe
cute.
we robbed the bank together.
That's adorbs. My mom is convinced that she was in the in Death Valley, like back when they were migrating west.
Yeah.
So
all right.
I don't know.
One of my another past life I had, apparently I was like I was a girl who had just fallen in love with. I hadn't just fallen in love with them, but like ended up marrying like a boy at like 16. Back when it was like a time where you got married and had kids super young.
Were you straight in this life?
I guess so.
Oh, you can change orientation, I guess.
I guess spirits are fluid.
Interesting.
Maybe always, but I don't believe that right away, because I certainly am not. In my past life, I was pretty straight, apparently, because what she remembers is I died during childbirth, and it was not my first child.
Oh,
so
poor
I must
thing.
have had sex a couple times with a guy. It was frightening. That's a horrible thought.
Oh, wow, that's a nightmare. I'm sorry for you.
Sorry to men in general for that comment, but whatever.
Your penises are really scary.
No, but I know, like, this is so, I know that it was, I don't know how past lives work, but I know that, like, it was either the best time of my life or the first life where I met, like, the love of my life that, like, I'm supposed to find in every life, or it was the most meaningful, like, that, like, really formed my, like, soul's character, or maybe I had the most lives in this time. I don't know how it works, but I know stronger than anything in my life that the colonial period is like my time. I don't know if I just died a lot and kept being alive in that time, or like if like I don't know what happened. I don't know what monumental thing happened, but it's always stayed with me.
Yeah, maybe something formative happened that.
Like anytime I go to like a colonial tour, like I mean I grew up in Virginia, so like if I ever went to Williamsburg and there's a big part of Williamsburg that still looks exactly like it did in the colonial period and all the employees still dress the same. Like it's just like this weird draw. Like if I could like just live in that little town, like never leave and just like live in colonial times, I would totally rock it.
That's amazing. That's me with Egypt.
That's so weird to me.
Trillion% convinced that like when I see things, when I go to like exhibits, like museum exhibits, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Like that's
like colonial
thing.
times with me,
right?
Like I feel like it's just like this weird hunch where like they could show like a random old time like object, and I don't even need the explanation. I'm like, oh yeah, well that happened with this, and this.
I turned
like,
butter with that.
Like oh yeah, like I remember. So I used to work in Yorktown, Virginia. That was like where I had most of my jobs in college,
right?
And if you took this little trolley, it took you like to different colonial exhibits, and it was like it rocked my fucking world. Like I would go back every single day and never get bored. And like they had like these houses that were still entirely built, like these like whole exhibits where you could basically, it wasn't like you just walked past and could look in. Like they were interactive where you could go in the log cabin and you could see what the bed looked like and what was in the attic and what like how they cooked, and like there was a table that was set. And then when you would leave the house, there was like these, they had every outdoor station where if you, like what they had to do every day, like how they got their water, how they made their butter, how they like made fire, how to plant.
So
and it was
cool.
all interactive. You had to do all of them to learn. And then they took you to like the blacksmith shop and then like the wood shop. And like it literally I could live there. If someone trapped me in that little section in Yorktown, Virginia, I would be so happy and never try to escape.
Isn't that fascinating? Because, like, I would rather kill myself.
Literally, I have no interest in Egypt, and if someone said,
Yes.
let's go, I would be like, no.
But, like, my whole thing is, like, I want to live in, like, the desert, sand, and, like, when I see all those things about, like, oh, this is their rituals, I'm like, yes, it makes sense. I get it.
I don't care. I literally
Isn't
so
that
don't
weird?
care. Also, I have, like, no interest in anything outside of America except for Canada. I don't know. I've been telling my mother since I was, like, 3 years old. I was like, I'm going to Canada. Like,
What?
I just said it so confidently. I was like, I'm going. Like, I'm gonna be there, and that's just where I'm gonna end up. And, like,
Canada?
Who knew Trump would become president?
Bye.
See ya. But, like, I've always told her, and when I was 12, I had this, like, weird obsession with Nova Scotia.
What?
I've literally never stepped foot in Canada, by the way. And I've just always been like, I'm going to go here and here. And since, like, middle school, I've known the whole process to become a citizen there. Like, I'm just, like, obsessed with Canada. Like, I did
not know that about you.
I just want to, like, if there's, like, a colonial neighborhood in Canada, I just want to fucking go there and never come back.
We have Canadian listeners, so if
Find the colonial areas where the pilgrims were in Canada.
Oh, Lord,
If ever a pilgrim were to set foot in Canada, I want to go there. I want to go right there.
Okay.
And then I never want to leave.
Bye.
See ya. We'll just, like, long distance this podcast.
Okay, I'll be in Egypt and you'll be in Canada.
I will literally never visit you in Egypt.
I
Like,
will-
no offense to Egypt. I just have no...
Literally never visit you in Canada, so
It's fine.
good.
Okay, let's get back to the ghost story.
Okay, bye.
Also, should I get my burger?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I got my burger, guys.
Em got her burger.
I ate the whole thing. Okay, so another thing, let's just dive right back into this because we've been tangent after tangent.
Totally.
Some of the other reports in this hotel have been spirits who make noise, move furniture, make sudden appearances, ring the lobby telephone, and knock things down.
They ring the lobby telephones like teenage pranksters.
Yeah, like, is Tamara home?
Oh, no.
Oh, there was a ghost in here that reminds me of Tamara, and I'm already fucking over it.
Nope.
So there's also reports of hearing band music coming from the second floor when nobody's up there, which is something I've experienced in other haunted hotels, and it's fucking creepy.
Ugh.
The staff is so used to it that it's laughable to them now. Like, at this point, they're just like, oh, yeah.
Oh, the jazz musicians are upstairs.
So room 210 is called the Zane Grey room. I'm not sure why. I think Zane Grey might have been like a celebrity at the time who stayed there. Because they have a couple rooms named after the celebrities who used to stay in those rooms.
Okay.
I don't know who Zane Grey is, but there's a room named after him, and it's 210. Many guests have been woken up by the Tamra ghost.
What?
Who, it's a bellboy, an old-fashioned, like, red clothes with brass buttons on it. And he knocks on the door. And
No.
He knocks on the door and tells them on the outside of the room that room service has arrived.
Oh, God.
And so some people will, like, say, I didn't order anything. Like, this is, like, middle of the night. No. So some people will shout back and be like, I didn't order anything. And classic Tamra, this guy, the bellboy ghost, will be like, are you sure?
Nope.
Or people have gone up to the door to, like, open the door and see who's talking to them, or will, like, look out the peephole.
Yes.
And no one's there. But the hall that this door is on is way too long and narrow with no doors for anyone to have, like, just fled.
Nope.
So, like, it's like there's no way there would have been anyone there.
Wait, so do they see them?
No.
See the guy? How do they know it has brass buttons?
Because there was one time where 210 and the room across the hall both heard a knock.
Yeah.
But room 10 where the bellboy was talking to and saying, like, you have room service.
Yeah.
The guy that was in the other room across the hall didn't hear a guy, but looked out the peephole and saw a bellboy in red clothing knocking on the door. And so he went to open the door to be like, who is that? Like, the guy whose door was being knocked on opened the door and didn't see anything. And the guy across the hall who was looking through the peephole and saw the bellboy opened the door and was like, there was a guy in a red bellboy suit right there.
Oh my God, that's so creepy.
Yeah.
I have chills too. I was about to say, I don't know why, but I have chills from that.
Okay, so there's also a woman who wanders the halls outside of the same room. But again, it's such a narrow hallway that she couldn't just leave.
Fabulous.
Supposedly the hotel avoids putting guests with pets in this room because dogs go crazy and they like tear up the room out of fear.
Great.
Like just tear it to crap.
That's so sad.
So room 20 is equally as haunted as 210, apparently. In the early 1980s, this is the guy that you'll get a kick out of.
Oh, good.
In the early 1980s, there was a long-term guest who stayed in room 220, and he had this weird habit, and I don't have an explanation before you ask why, but he was known to hang raw meat from the chandelier.
Nope.
And I don't know why, but he was there for several months.
Cocaine. Drugs.
And for some reason, they, like, anytime the cleaning staff went in there was just raw meat hanging from all the chandeliers.
That's drugs.
That's drugs.
What? No.
There was also, anytime in 220, a maintenance worker has gone in there, or, like, the guy died in there. I don't know how. But
Are you kidding me? So they walked in.
And also, get this, after he died in there, they didn't know that he had died for a while because they thought, like, the smell of death coming out of there was the raw meat.
They're like, oh, don't mind that.
That's just the raw meat guy.
It's just the stakes he hung from the ceiling.
Yeah. And so now when people go into 220, like a maintenance worker went in there to turn off the lights or he turned off the lights behind him when he was leaving, and when he went back to get something, the lights were on, the bed was messed up, and the TV was blasting at full volume.
Fabulous.
There's a room called the Gary Cooper room, where 2 sex workers were murdered by being thrown out of the window.
Oh.
And in this room, many guests will feel like they're being stared at while they sleep.
Oh.
And more times than not, the male guests will feel like something is sitting on top of them and trying to suffocate them while they're sleeping, and they have a hard time breathing. As if, like, something's trying to retaliate.
That's so sad.
Let me see. In another situation, or in another report, 2 women have regularly been sighted in the pool hall and the lounge, but disappear when you turn around to, like, double take. In room 305, many see a woman rocking in the rocking chair in the room and humming.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either, because she only does it in the middle of the night when you're sleeping.
Why?
Some other people, including cleaning staff, have tried to move the chair thinking maybe there's a draft or there was like the floor was slanted. And by the time you wake up or like you close your eyes and just open them again, it's moved to the same spot it was in. Some people will also just see the chair rocking on its own without a person in it. And sometimes that comes with the humming. So you'll hear humming in it. You'll hear humming in it with an empty chair.
Listen, if I went to a hotel room and there was even a rocking chair in it, I would be like, please remove this from my room.
Yeah, if I was ever staying like in an old farmhouse or something, if I saw a rocking chair, I'd be like, either we're getting a brand new one that has no history except being sent here.
Yep.
Or we're just not going to have a rocking chair.
Not into the rocking chair.
People have been greeted by the same voice saying good morning, but in their rooms.
Oh, God.
And have seen in the lounge reports of bar stools and drinks that move on their own. So they'll either slide down the bar or they'll switch places, or you'll like put your drink down and then look away and grab it again. It's a different drink.
Oh, my God.
Like a really cool bartender magician. And people have also said that they see a little boy wandering the halls. And some of them, especially mothers, feel like their hand is being held in the elevators.
Oh.
Also, kids will see him in the elevator and in the lobby.
Oh.
TVs and phones in the rooms will go off on their own. In room 220, where the meat guy was, people will feel cold male hands like touch their back while they're sleeping.
Nope.
And he was a male guy, so his male hands probably got involved.
Absolutely
with
not.
That.
He was a male guy.
He was a male guy.
And with his male hands.
Okay, in the basement where the laundry machines are, cleaning staff will hear a baby crying, which turns into a deep man's laughter.
Oh,
That's
God.
pretty horrifying. I'd be like, and my duties do not include laundry.
And I am quitting.
Many have reported an old-fashioned dressed couple dancing in the lounge. And there's a shadow person that will stand behind the employees when they aren't looking, and can be found in the basement as well.
Okay.
But he's basically seen behind the bar, behind employees when they're not looking, and witnesses say that he has a very menacing presence that, like, is telling you to get away from him.
So other people will see him behind
Someone.
employees?
Yeah. And And I guess they say mainly employees because it's like the bar and that's where the employees are.
Right.
But someone will see a dark shadow figure behind someone and feel really intimidated and fearful and scared of them.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And then when the other person turns around, it's not behind them.
Good.
Many staff members and guests have met a very polite elevator attendant, even though the elevator is now self-service.
Fabulous.
He'll show up in the mirror of the elevator, so you turn around and he's gone. Or you can see a phantom hand move across the elevator as if he's closing the elevator gate that used to be there.
Oh my God.
And some have even interacted with a full apparition of the elevator attendant, so far as to some people even saying he asked them, "What floor may I take you to?"
Oh my God.
Which, by the way, if I were to, like, meet a ghost, like, that's the one.
That is the one ghost
Like,
I would
all he
want
wants to do is help you. He's like, "What floor can I take you to?" And I'm like,
sounds like-
69.
Oh, you're the worst. That would make him go back. Like,
He'd be like, "I'm going back to where I came from."
my work here is done.
What if he got up there and was like, "I've been waiting for that answer this whole time," and then he just dissipates into a bright light?
He wouldn't. That wouldn't happen.
New light bulbs will unscrew themselves in front of you, or you will leave the room, and after having screwed them in, they'll be completely removed and sitting perfectly upright on a table
Oh, okay.
for cleaning staff to find, which makes me think that's a fucking poltergeist.
Well,
that's like
absolutely
furniture being stacked up or upside down, or cabinets being open.
Perfectly organized.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, and like it's hard to balance a light bulb.
Yeah.
It's literally balanced upright on the table. Also, you can smell a distinct meat and sausage-like smell.
That's disgusting.
And if you try to follow the smell, it will lead to 220.
That's disgusting.
A door in the hall opened on its own, and a dark shadow figure literally glided down the hall.
Okay.
And this guy saw it and tried to record it on his phone. And when you look back at it, you can't see the shadow on the phone, but you can hear, as if something was like shouting into the microphone, you can hear a man screaming, "Help." Like, you
why?
can't, there's like a full shadow figure that glided out, but you can't see him. All you hear is like a man screaming like straight into the phone.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's it.
Geez, that's it? Okay.
Like, there was really minimal history. It was just all like different accounts of different things since 1927.
That's horrifying.
So that was called the Monte Vista, Hotel Monte Vista.
Meet me at the
Monte V. Meet me at the Monte V, man.
Catchy.
Yeah. That's like when we talk about House of Pies and we say, "Meet me at HOP."
Totally. It's the
That's
same
exactly
thing.
what we're talking about.
Modern day House of Pies.
Yep.
All right.
Well, modern day Monte V.
Yeah, the other way
Old
around.
school House of Pies.
House of Pies, old school.
Anyway, there is your ghost story.
That is creepy. I don't like the part about the meat guy and the shadow figure.
I really don't like the shadow figure guy.
I do like the elevator guy.
He seemed chill as fuck.
Yeah, he seems like someone I could get down with, but everybody else,
Right. Correct.
Except the couple dancing. I'm like, okay, you can hang out.
Yeah. Or the little boy holding hands.
That's really sweet.
Yes.
And also sad, but sweet. Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'm going to tell you about this guy named Josef. God, I pick all these Austrian German people.
Yeah, you do this on purpose, I think.
But I think also they're all kind of fucked up, so maybe that's why. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you about Josef Fritzl. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of him?
No. Is he about to rock my world in the worst kind of way?
In the worst
Christine
kind of
has
way.
been giving me like all of these like warning signs that I'm about to be ruined after I hear this. So
It's one of those things where, like, I read about it and it ruined me, so I need to force it upon other people. I'm like, if I have to suffer, you have to suffer.
perfect.
All right, Josef Fritzl. So this dude from Austria. So he grew up in poverty. His father constantly cheated on his mother and threw his father out of the house when he was only 4 years old. So she started raising him on her own. But unfortunately, she did not like him. Mm-hmm. She only gave birth to him to prove to her husband that she wasn't infertile.
Oh, fuck.
He grew up in the strict Nazi era, and his mother ignored him except for the times that she was beating him.
Oh,
So that's nice.
yikes.
As a teenager, Joseph considered his mother his wife,
How did that happen?
and he had many sexual fantasies about her.
What? So this girl is like total neglect and abuse, and so you end up sexualizing her? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Freud's field day is what this episode will be called.
All you psychologists, get on it. Okay. So he met a woman in 1956 named Rosemary and married her. Mm-hmm. Rosemary gave birth to their first child in 1957. And at the time, Fritzl would ride around town on his bike, peering into people's windows, but he claimed that he was working late at the steel factory. Just a fun fact before we get into the story.
Right. Let's just wean me into something disturbing.
Yeah, just one thing at a time. So their fourth daughter, Elizabeth, was born on April 6, 1966. She was the fourth daughter of their 7 children. She was painfully shy, was often beaten by her father, and her mother, Rosemary, claimed she did not like her. Mm-hmm. On October 6th, Josef was arrested for raping a woman in her apartment at knife point.
Aww.
In Linz, Austria. He served 12 months. And then he served 12 months of an 18-month sentence. He had also attacked several other local women. But Rosemary forgave him when he was released from prison. By 1973, he had established himself as a successful businessman in the area. He bought a home in the Lakes district of Upper Austria and imprisoned his elderly mother in the attic.
Well, she probably had it coming.
Until she died in 1980. When his daughter Elizabeth was 11, her father began sexually abusing her.
Oh.
When she was around 15, which was about 1981, Fritzl began building a cellar beneath their family home, planning to transform it into a homemade prison.
A homemade prison for his daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
He had...
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I didn't know if you could, hear.
No, I just make sure you're okay. He had very specific plans, including that the ceiling could only be 1.7 meters or 5.5 feet high. His brother-in-law helped him carry out the building, but he didn't know what Fritzl's plans were. So when Elizabeth was 18, her father lured her downstairs into his new prison that he had built by asking her to help carry the door that would end up sealing the dungeon.
Aww.
That would lock her in. He drugged her with ether and chained her to a wall.
Fuck.
He unlocked her only to rape her.
God damn it.
He wrote fake letters to people claiming that Elizabeth had joined a cult, which was actually part of the zeitgeist at the time. So, cults were this part of, the mass media. There was Jonestown and all that, and people were in mass hysteria about... The same way, Satanism was sort of a mass hysteria. It was the same way with cults. So people thought the story was plausible, and he kind of got away with it by saying, oh, she joined this cult. I don't know what to do. Fritzl told Elizabeth, his daughter, that if she touched the cellar door, she'd be electrocuted.
Was it ever even charged?
I don't know.
That could have just been a manipulative...
I mean, it was locked.
Right.
But it was one of his ways of keeping her away from it, basically. The cell was 4.5 meters squared, which is about 15 by 15 feet. Mm-hmm. Her father visited the dungeon every few days using a remote control, which would open the door. He would provide her supplies and rape her regularly. She was raped over 3,000 times and violently assaulted.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to get into the details, but it was not good. While she was down there. At the same time, while this was happening, he was also suspected of the unsolved murder of Martina Posch, who was a 17-year-old girl in town who had been found wrapped in plastic and raped near his house in 1986, but he was never convicted of it. So during her time in the dungeon, Elizabeth gave birth to 7 children.
And was raising them during this time? So, they were also witnessing her getting raped whenever he came down?
Oh, yeah. So
was he raping them?
3, no.
Okay.
So 3 of the children, Kirsten, the eldest, Stefan, and Felix, all grew up downstairs in the dungeon. On April 28th, 1996, Elizabeth gave birth to twin boys, Michael and Alexander. Michael died 3 days later, and Fritzl cremated his body in the furnace and scattered his ashes throughout the garden. 3 of her children, Lisa, Monica, and Alexander, lived seemingly normal lives upstairs.
Why? Was there a reason he picked them?
Nope.
He was oh, you'll do.
Yep.
Was it like an Aryan race kind of thing? Or
I don't
like...
think so. I think he just was so crazy.
Oh, okay. Like maybe it skipped a generation. Like, oh, this kid gets to go like upstairs, downstairs.
Maybe.
Fucked up.
There was no explanation. He told everyone that Elizabeth was unable to care for her children because she was in a cult and that she had dropped them off at his doorstep in the middle of the night, so he had to raise them.
Oh my God.
Because the family was growing downstairs, Fritzl started to expand the dungeon. He built additional rooms, but the air was extremely stale. The children would they were
Sick and
really
all that?
sick. Yeah, they had
Well, they never experienced sunlight, had they?
never. Malnutrition, vitamin D deficiency. They could barely move. They were listless. The way they described it was that condensation was just dripping from the walls.
Aww.
So there was mold. So they all had fungal infections. There were 2 bedrooms, which were soundproofed, a bathroom, toilet, and kitchen. And there's photos of it. And it's upsetting. So obviously the lack of natural light left the children weak, sickly, and pale. The mold that I mentioned. They also had bad dental problems. The children's only access to the outside world was what they could see on this old TV they had down there and what their mother told them about the outside world before she had been trapped downstairs at age 18, which reminds me of that movie Room.
Right.
And the book, I guess.
This is like a really fucked up blast from the past. Did you ever see that movie with Brendan Fraser?
No.
That's a good one. It's not this.
Oh, I was like, God.
No, but he's basically his parents are afraid of him ever leaving, so they keep him in the house and they just tell him stories about what the world used to be.
Oh, I remember that.
But it's like an 80s family movie. This is that's why I'm saying this is the fucked up version of that.
Well, did you see Room?
No.
Oh, she has her son and raises him in this room. In
I've never
captivity.
seen it. I've heard about it though.
And she explains the outside world, and he doesn't understand what the outside world is because he's only it's so upsetting. But yeah, this is exactly what this was. So Rosemary, her mother, Elizabeth's mother,
right,
was unaware apparently
of all these grandkids,
of the secret family that was downstairs.
She literally never went outside and saw a dungeon.
Well, it was down this secret cellar.
All right.
Soundproofed. I don't know.
I'm going to roll with it because last episode I just could not get behind this fucking foot. But I'm going to.
I mean, I don't know.
Just take your word for it.
Listen, I don't know. All she said was she didn't know, and I don't know if anyone believes her or not, but clearly she already said she didn't like her own children. And
yeah, that's fair.
Her husband had raped several people, and she knew about it, so it's
why are you married? This is when I'm why are you still in that fucking house?
Yeah.
It's why would you stay married to this guy?
Well, part of it ended up being she was also a victim in that her husband was
Stockholm syndrome or something?
No, but just that she was in an extremely abusive relationship herself, and that her husband
that's
was
good enough reason.
Violently murdering.
That wasn't sarcasm. That's
and raping young women. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll explain their relationship later. But anyway.
Yay.
Okay, so apparently Rosemary was unaware of the secret family her husband hid beneath her feet. Kirsten, the oldest daughter, was 19, had never left the basement. 19 years old. She was desperately ill. She kept lapsing into unconsciousness and suffered from uncontrollable screaming fits. On April 19th, 2008, she was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Fritzl made his daughter Elizabeth write a letter to the hospital begging them to take care of her daughter. The hospital became suspicious when Kirsten arrived, but had no medical records, no documentation, and she had multiple organ failure and was induced into a coma because she was so sick. The doctors actually made an appeal over Austrian TV asking Elizabeth to contact them and contact authorities.
Oh my God.
Because they needed more information. Elizabeth watched the story unfold on TV, on her little TV.
Aww.
Couldn't leave the house. Begged her father to let her go to the hospital to save her daughter. On April 26th of 2008, Fritzl decided to release his family from underground. So Elizabeth, Stefan, and Felix made their way upstairs. Stefan and Felix, for the first time in their lives, got to leave. She's at the hospital.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I know if they all went together.
No, so they brought
Kirsten
to the hospital, and she had no documentation. So they
oh, I get it. Okay.
Made an appeal to Elizabeth, not knowing she was underground. and so her father let them leave to go to the hospital.
I feel like if I was a criminal, though, I'd be like, the perfect reason to not let them go is because of this documentation. It's like, I'm screwed no matter what if they have no papers.
He's thinking like, oh, I'm a criminal.
Right. He's
his brain doesn't work like, oh, I'm
right. He's not a logical
doing
person.
something bad. He's like, this is perfectly
what you're supposed to
normal. Do. Right. So finally, they all made their way upstairs for the first time ever. Fritzl told Rosemary, his wife, that their daughter had finally returned home, like from her cult. And that she had been, at this point, she had been missing for 8,516 days, which is 24 years.
Fuck that.
She had been in the basement our lifetimes.
Literally our lifetime.
Mm-hmm. 24 years. I had birthed 7 children.
Jesus.
So Joseph and Elizabeth got to the hospital. He took her to the hospital to see Kirsten. And they were detained on the hospital grounds. Elizabeth refused to speak about her circumstances until she was promised she would never have to see her father again. So they made the promise, and Fritzl was arrested that night. 300 officers worked on the case, and the trial began in March of 2009. At this point, Fritzl was 73 years old. He pleaded guilty to false imprisonment, incest, and rape, but he pleaded not guilty to enslavement and murder by neglect.
Okay.
Which is like, you built an underground cellar and locked your daughter away for 24 years.
And your grandchildren and your other children.
And told them they'd be electrocuted if they tried to leave. But it's not enslavement. But he admitted to incest and rape.
Yeah, like, why would you admit to obviously one, but not just as obviously the other?
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Elizabeth testified to the whole thing via an 11-hour pre-recorded video.
Good for her, though.
I know. Presented to the court. Josef Fritzl sat in the courtroom. He listened to the whole testimony. Elizabeth actually dressed in a wig to watch the proceedings. Her father saw her and began to weep.
Oh my God, cry me a fucking river.
Literally. After he watched her 11-hour testimony, he changed his plea to guilty on all charges.
Wow, finally something moved him.
Wow. Good for you, guy. The case was especially difficult for jurors. They had extra jurors kept on standby in case any of the jurors had to, step away and weren't able to continue. So Fritzl must serve 15 years before he is eligible for parole in 2024.
Okay, that's nice.
15 years!
Yeah, your kids were only down there for fucking 20.
He raped his daughter for 24 years and kept her imprisoned.
I feel like if you're going to enslave and rape someone for 25 years, maybe you should at least be in jail for 25 years.
Amen.
Maybe at least.
A fucking man. At least in jail you get books and computers and food.
Yeah.
Fuck you. So, anyway, he's eligible for parole in 2024. He'll be 89 years old. Elizabeth and her children spent many months in a secure psychiatric ward while they tried to recover. She attempted to reestablish a relationship with her mother, but her anger would boil over every time she questioned her as to why she never tried to...
Yeah, I wouldn't even try to have a conversation.
Help.
I'd be like, I wouldn't even know what to say. I'd be like, fuck you.
I mean, how do you go back to that? She ended up throwing her mother out of their villa on the psychiatric hospital grounds. The captives took on new names. They were moved to a secure location. Security personnel and CCTV guard her home, and local villagers will call the police if they see sightseers lurking or trying to get a glimpse of them, which is kind of great. So their neighbors will look out for them. The upstairs and downstairs families, so she had the children upstairs and then her children downstairs, were reunited. They've all undergone psychological therapy.
As they should.
I'm sure they needed. And schooling, because they'd never been to school. I mean,
oh my gosh.
The oldest daughter was 19 and had never left the basement.
They were lucky that they could speak.
Yeah. She says one of them had some sort of disability because he...
Maybe because he was malnourished and there was... I guarantee you he wasn't given prenatal vitamins.
Right. Well, that's the least of his worries, I think.
The least.
He had motor functioning skills or issues with motor skills.
Mm-hmm.
She now says that she understands that her mother was also a victim, and they've mended their relationship. Her mother lives in a small flat in Linz in Austria, selling homemade bags to supplement her pension, and she visits her family every week. After their release, Elizabeth showered several times a day. She became compulsive about cleaning.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, the children would become like extremely distressed about closed doors. So
I don't blame them either.
Either had to keep all the doors open or remove them from their hinges. They have a full-time caretaker who takes care of them, and like a lot of times panic will like overwhelm them. And so the caretaker is there like to help them,
Like coax them
in those
to like relaxing and
those kind of things, and take care of them if they're like catatonic. Elizabeth has worked toward getting her driver's license and enjoys shopping. Her father wrote her a series of letters requesting money.
Are you fucking kidding me?
So he could study law to defend himself in court.
Oh my god. Oh wow.
That's
just the most infuriating thing I've ever heard.
She no longer accepts his communications.
Did she write a note back being like, fuck you?
No, she just refused to. She cut him off.
He has to be... I mean...
He also has severe dementia. But he divorced Rosemary in 2012 because she never visited him in prison.
This guy's the most manipulative fucking bastard in the entire world.
So that's that.
That's it?
That's it. So now they live in Austria.
Is he dead? Is he dead in fucking prison?
Nope. He gets out on parole in 2024.
So in like fucking 7 years.
Yep.
Christine, your toothy grin.
It's really great.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's fun.
I mean, it's not the same, but it's him asking for money from the person he did that to be a lawyer to defend himself is very much like those people who can like when rapists can sue their victims
Totally.
for like paternity if they got the girl pregnant.
Totally.
It's like, why won't you let me see my kid? It's like, you fucking raped me.
Those SVU episodes.
Or no, like it's they can sue their victim if she tries to get an abortion.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to carry this fucking thing?
And then there's actually legal precedents that allow them to make that.
Oh yeah, no, the law, like the law in certain places, they have the total right to. It's 2017. How the fuck is any of that okay?
No, it's not.
This is why we drink. This is the exact reason why we made this podcast.
Yep.
/ why we drink.
We need everyone else to understand how miserable the world is.
Every person who thinks either of those situations is okay needs to fucking go away forever.
And by go away, we mean die a violent death.
Yes.
Okay, let's read Gio's horoscope.
Thank God. It better be good, because if I find out Gio's going to have a bad week, I'm... like, no one wins.
Here we go. Scorpio horoscope.
Ready? Gio? Listen up.
Listen, Gio. Elegance personified.
Gio!
You are loaded with compliments today.
You're so handsome.
Em literally called him handsome 85 times in a row.
He's the cutest boy in the whole wide world. That's you.
This may encourage you to do better work and have good equations with people.
You're so mathematical.
However, make sure your success does not go to your head and affect your work.
Be humble.
Watch your words while communicating.
Listen.
That's real, because this success
literally
is going to go to his fucking head.
That's true. He doesn't even know the fame he has.
He needs to get it together.
Gio! Was that it? That was the whole horoscope?
Watch your words.
Watch your words. Loose lips sink ships.
That's right, Gio.
Talk shit, get hit. But hit with kisses, because you're so cute.
See, compliments. Loaded with compliments.
I think what the horoscope is saying is you finally met M, and your life will never be the same, because all you'll get is love.
And don't let M's compliments go to your head.
But they're all accurate. He is so handsome. He's such a good boy.
He's such a good pup.
He's such a good boy.
Oh, hi, baby boy. He's so handsome.
Today I made a Snapchat of me showing up at Christine's and Gio seeing me for the first time, and he lost his mind, and as did I.
was so happy.
He was yanking on the leash to get to me, and Christine's little body was like flinging in the wind.
I was like flying behind him like a kite.
Oh, but then we reunited.
He was a happy bear. Anyway, I like this new ending where we can be like, hey, that was funny.
Yeah, finally we have something. Him and I hugged today, and we had a whole snuggle session. He just sat there and just accepted all of my ridiculous behavior.
He has yet to vomit from the fries, but it will happen.
I gave him a whole bucket of fries.
My boyfriend comes home at 4 a.m. and I guarantee you he's going to come home to a pile of vomit on the floor after a 10-hour shift in the emergency room.
Oh, what a good life he's chosen
Blaze
for himself.
loves our podcast.
He is actually creepily supportive about it.
Like, for no reason. Like, I wouldn't blame him.
Christine does not deserve him.
No. If he left me, I'd be like, yeah, I get it.
And then when you told me, I'd be like, well, yeah, that was expected.
Like, well, yeah, we were waiting for that.
Well, none of us thought that would last. We all knew he'd get up and leave.
Help. Okay. He probably only stays for Geo, let's be honest.
As do I.
I was going to say, that seems to be a running theme in my life and my relationships.
I think you just got a dog so people wouldn't leave you.
You're not wrong about that. In fact, you're very right.
As the wine gets closer to her face.
You're very right about that.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Gio's here to say bye. We just finished our last listeners episode. We have a new one coming out June 1st now.
Yay.
And personal shout out, when this comes out, I will be a week away from going back home for the first time since Christmas. Yay. So I will be in my hometown, but I'm there for one of my oldest friends getting married to another one of my oldest friends. So I just want to give a shout out to Cece and Ryan. Before they get married, this is their last week not hitched.
Aw.
So by the time this comes out, there'll be a week left before they get married. So
Cece has sent in a cool listener story, and she's also a Patreon supporter.
Aww.
And we love her very much. And I haven't met her, but I'm sending my love to you guys, even though I don't know you, but I feel like I do.
So congratulations to you guys.
Congratulations.
And yeah, so that's it. We've got a bunch of cool stuff coming out. The merch, I promise, is so close to getting sent out to you guys.
And it's going to be good.
It's really going to be good. Patience is a virtue.
If you can't donate money, we get.
Just
literally.
I so get it.
If anyone in the world gets it, we get it.
Like, if you guys are like, I really love you, but I'm poor, I'll be like, wow, we are all so poor. So you're on our social media by now, I hope. If not, it's ATWW Podcast.
No, ATWWD Podcast.
Jesus Christ. ATWWD Podcast. And we're super friendly, so if you want to slide into our DMs, by all means do that. Preferably mine, since I've lost quite a following since Christine became the hot one of the group.
Sorry.
But yeah, so...
Yeah, we have so much fun talking to you guys on social media.
Yes. We will talk to you another time.
We will, and we'll see you soon.
And that's why we drink.
Oops.
Is that not why we drink?
And
that's
why...
and that's why we drink.